Welcome to Empowering the Next Generation podcast. I am Helen Veru. This podcast is dedicated to help anyone connected to preteens and teens to give them tools, empower and inspire teachers, high school senior leaders, and parents to build the future leaders of tomorrow. We discuss about controversial and relevant topics related to the world of education, the main problems you are facing, and solutions to help you navigate your journey. We want to make a positive change in education by bringing on experts that will give you a different perspective on how you can solve the hardship you are facing today. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Empowering the Next Generation podcast with me again, Coach Helen. We are here to help anyone connected to preteens and teens, to give you tools, and really to empower and inspire teachers, high school senior leaders, and parents to build the future leaders of tomorrow. We are going to discuss about controversial and relevant topics related to the world of education, and we really want to make a positive impact in education by bringing on experts that will give you different perspectives on how you can solve the hardship that you are facing today. Today we have an amazing guest speaker again. Her name is Viv Grant. She's an executive coach, an author, a public speaker. She is known for deep insight into leadership, vulnerability, and resilience. She is also the director of Integrity Coaching, London's leading provider of coaching services for head teachers and senior leaders. Over her 30 years of career in education, she has held a range of influential roles, including becoming one of the youngest head teachers in the country at the age of 31, while being pregnant with her first child. She was appointed to turn around a failing primary school, a challenge that shaped her understanding of leadership and resilience in profound ways. So we are really excited to actually welcome Viv to come Viv on the podcast. You can come and join us today and share your insights. So I'm really pleased that you're here with us. And we're going to talk today about the topic of inner leadership. I love the concept of leadership. And as well as a transformational leadership coach, I understand that it's important that we grow from within. So I really want to know, what is your insight? How do you really define inner leadership?
Okay, so how do I define inner leadership? For me, inner leadership is really about the ability to tune into our own inner wisdom, our own intuition. I think when you're a leader, what's required of us is that we make wise decisions, and very often in pressurized environments. And I think very often what happens for leaders is they are judged by the external, so by their social persona, by how they influence and affect change, which we understand. But if you're not attuning to what's going on within, leadership is hard. It's a
It is.
challenge. It tests your emotions. It tests everything that you believe and think about yourself. And I think in society today, what we tend to have is, I would say, ego driven leadership. And for me, inner leadership is to do with soul inspired leadership, leadership that comes from a deep well of wisdom inside, which I believe all of us have. But I don't believe we're all very skilled in accessing that deep wisdom. So that's, for me, is what inner leadership is about.
I love your understanding of it because I feel like most of the time, as you said, leaders really tend to focus on the outside when they don't really know as well themselves as a person, and they don't really dive into self. And most of the time, even in education, I feel that we don't have that opportunity to dive into self. We always focus on the external factor in life. So the next question I have for you is, why do you think this concept matters in terms of educators and leadership beyond the in the classroom and beyond the classroom as well?
But it relates really a lot, Helen, I think, to your reason for this podcast. And one of the things that you say about wanting to inspire future generations and so forth. I
Yeah.
believe wholeheartedly that our young people who are in our schools today, they are our leaders of tomorrow.
Yes.
But if our leaders of today are not leading from places of inner wisdom, if they are not creating their cultures in their schools where they embody courage, integrity, authenticity, then how can our young people be the leaders that we need for tomorrow to address the global challenges? Because already we know how huge the global challenges are of today. It's going to take wisdom, it's going to take insight, it's going to take a very different type of leadership to address the problems of the future. So for me, that's why it is essential. We need another way of being in the world. And school leaders, well, we do, we hold the future in our hands with our young people. So for me, that's why it is key. Yeah, it's a gift to be in the position of school leadership. And we need to recognize what a gift that is and to use that gift wisely. And for me, that's about attending to the inner work. Our young people, they're looking to us to help them understand how to navigate what the world is going to look like in 10, 20, 30 years.
And I feel as well that most of the time, high school leaders or even senior leaders, they have that tangible way of really making a difference and impact in the life of those young people, because some of those young people don't have this kind of leadership at home. So it starts in school, because school is a place where they actually attend the most the whole day. They actually spend most of their youth in there. And most of the time they don't have the role models at home. And this is where, as senior leaders, when the senior leader really understand the power of, as you say, inner leadership, transformational leadership, really growing into self, they can actually exemplify that to them, model that to them, because at that age, I feel like they're just looking up to someone who can actually show them and guide them on how to actually express that in their own lives.
Yeah, I agree 101%. So it's really key. I mean, I often say, like, if I'm speaking at conferences and so forth, that as adults, we have a choice. We have a choice when we step into education. So we
Mm.
need to be really clear about what's our reason. For me, it's not a job. And if you think it's a job, then maybe education isn't for you, because our young people don't need you to be thinking, oh, I clock on at 9, I finish at 5. No, 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 no. They need people who are invested in them and really want the very, very best for them. So yeah, for me, it's just key. It's essential.
Yeah, but I feel like now the issues are even rising more with teachers who are not staying in their roles. Like there is a really huge um, problem with staff retention in schools, because teachers really are overwhelmed. They are stressed. They don't really know how to cope with all the demands that is on them at the moment. And I think that concept of inner leadership can definitely help them to really grow into, is it, am I really aligned? I have like something called the impact framework, where I really help people to really think about, is it, are you aligned with your belief? Are you aligned with your values? Are you aligned with yourself? And I feel a lot of people are not aligned with themselves. They are in sometimes a position, even senior leaders, they are in a position sometimes for the wrong motive, the wrong reasons. But are they really there because they were called to be head teachers? Were they called to be teachers? Because that's what makes a difference. Because if you're there for a long time and you don't focus only on the holidays, because I know we have a lot of holidays as educators, but you don't focus only on the holidays, you don't focus only on the wage, you have a deeper inner passion for the young people, this is when you are called for that. Otherwise, this is where they need to review their motives. They need to review where they are in their journey and really think about other ways of really capturing for their financial growth. So I think it's something that we are dealing a lot nowadays. Teachers don't feel that they are called to be teachers anymore because of what is happening to them, especially in terms of their emotions in schools. So, what do you think gets in the way of individuals developing this capacity of inner leadership?
I think there are a number of things. I think because, we're all born with this capacity, I really believe. But I believe the process of socialization of
Mm,
what happens in order to feel that we have a sense of belonging, in terms that we
mm,
have a set that we fit in, I think that
mhm,
bends people out of shape. And in the bending people out of shape, they forget that ability to tune in and to listen. And so then the outlook becomes more on the external. What are other people saying who I should be, how I should be in the world? So I think that's one. I think another aspect is lots of models of leadership, I think actually are quite patriarchal or egocentric, and that is seen as the norm. And unless you are having conversations that challenge that norm, then what happens is, again, further socialization is, well, that's what I should aspire to. And then people get used to what this sense of inner dissonance. And again, they normalize that. And so what happens is they move further and further away from their inner core, from their true self. And there's an author called Richard Rohr, he talks about the false self. And so the false self becomes their sense of norm and what is. So I think they're the prime reasons why, and also just working in school, it's just busy. And because it's busy, people are encouraged just to stop and reflect. But if people were encouraged to stop and reflect, and I believe that could be built in as part of CPD, then again, it would be a way to stop that inner dissonance that people have normalized. So for me, they are kind of like the key things that get in the way. And I think it's huge, to be honest. I think it's huge. I mean, I tend to think of the work that myself and my company do, integrity coaching, as being countercultural. And when you're working against, and when you're like a fish swimming upstream and everything else current is going the other way, that's quite a challenge to say, no, we're not going to be like everyone else. And when everyone else perhaps is like that, it's difficult for individuals to see actually there can be another way of showing up in the world. And it doesn't have to be what's perpetuated by the media. So yeah, that's my
I love it. I love it. It's really that connection with self, and this is something that we need to have more in schools. As a John Maxwell certified coach, there is a saying that he says that leadership is influence, nothing more, nothing less. And I believe that leaders, senior leaders, have such a huge power on the community that they are serving. They have a huge power on their parents, on their student community, on their teachers community, and it starts with leadership. If the leadership is not whole, is not, as you say, in tune with themselves, the school will definitely fail it. The different parts of the community will definitely fail it. And this is what we need to readdress. And I'm 100% an advocate of holistic programs. I feel that holisticness has to come back. I don't know if there is that before in school, but I feel like we need to bring holistic programs in school where people can, as you say, focus on their well-being, and not only for school leaders, but really for teachers. How about for students? And I think it's missing massively in schools, programs that can really help people to reconnect with themselves.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
very often you talk, Viv, about the 5 C's of inner leadership. So can you a little bit expand on this and how you discovered the 5 C's for yourself?
Okay. So this is a bit of a very personal, and I hope I don't get too emotional about this when I share this with you. So my company, Integrity Coaching, we've been going for about 15 years or more now. And we've always had a focus, what we would say, on the inner work and on inner leadership.
Mm-hmm.
And about 2 years ago, I started my PhD. And my PhD was around wholeness and the intersections of race, whiteness, and school leadership. The wholeness piece, for me, very much connecting to inner leadership. And then in August 2023, I got a cancer diagnosis. Literally, I had just finished doing the literature review on wholeness. And it was like the universe was saying, okay, Viv, so you've got all the academic literature about it, but now you're going to have a real embodied sense of what the academics are talking about when they talk about leaders developing wholeness, having to face an existential crisis, and actually go through that whole process in order to recognize that wholeness is not about perfection. It's about doing the deep inner work that's to do with transformation, so that you come out on the other side, not the person that you were before, but with a greater commitment to what you believe is yours to do. So that academically, I had researched, I was about to write up. And it's I knew this because it's the work that I do with my school leaders or our school leaders. And then, as I said, I got this cancer diagnosis. And it took me to places in myself that I never, ever, ever could imagine. What I realized was when the fear and the anxiety and everything came over me, there was only one thing I could do, was to let go. I was not in control. And by letting go, I mean I had to, I call it my wintering. I could no longer be director of integrity coaching. I just had to leave that to my team. I had to allow myself to feel my fears, to cry, to sob, to really allow myself to feel that I was going through. I had a hysterectomy and I had a bout of radiotherapy. And during the whole time of waiting for my results, of deciding what to do, I had to find a way to navigate the darkness, because as I said, this took me to places I've never been before in my life. And in navigating the darkness, a couple of things happened. One of the major things that happened was I started to paint. I've never, ever painted in my whole entire life, never. But these paintings started to emerge from my depths, and it felt like it was my soul, like there were not words really to describe what I was going through. But when I talk about inner leadership, it was like my soul was saying, it's okay, Viv, it's okay, you're going to get through this. And through these paintings that literally just emerging from me, I'm going to show you how. I'm going to show you the qualities that you need to hold on to. So what happened was, after a period of time, I had so many paintings and I put them all around me. And then I was like, oh gosh, this is the soul's journey. This is the soul's archetype. This is what lots of spiritual authors talk about when they talk about going through a dark night of the soul, how you have the descent, how you have the darkness, how you have the new dawn. And I could see it in my paintings. And then what happened when I returned to work at the start of the new year, I started to share them with my internal team. I was very nervous, I was very vulnerable, lots of tears. And they were like, Viv, you've got to share these. You've got to put these into a book. I'm like, no, I can't. I'm not an artist. I don't do that. And then, but then I kind of listened to them. And again, I go back to the paintings. And again, it's like a process. The words just started to come. And as the words started to come, and I started to put the book together, that's when the 5 C's emerged. It was like, oh my God. So Viv, yeah, curiosity. Curiosity in terms of not to judge yourself, but in terms of really just to be with what is and to have an air of curiosity about what has unfolded for you. Then the next one I think was, courage. Courage just to stay in that space, but not courage in the terms of, oh, I'm just going to, sort of, can't think of the word right now, but
boasting, like you're boasting and
yeah, but courage in terms of I've got to be vulnerable, and this is really scary for me, but I've got to just have the courage to be with what is. And then I think the next one was commitment, and that was commitment to what I call the road. Not I, it's the psychologist M. Scott Peck, the road less traveled, which again is the inner work, the commitment to look inward and to actually just find a way to be with it, to be at ease with what is arising. So there was commitment. Then I think the next one, I'm going to have a look here because I think I've got them here. The next one I think was compassion, a huge amount of compassion to myself, self-compassion. Because I think when, I don't know, they say 1 in 2 of us anyway, gonna get a cancer diagnosis. So we're all probably going to be touched with it one way or another in our lives. And I know when I got the diagnosis, the first thing I felt was guilt. It was like, what have I done? Have I done something wrong? How could my body have got this? What's happened here? And then learning that I had to let go of guilt, and I just had to give myself a huge amount of self-compassion and love. And like, Viv, you haven't done anything wrong. And just really just be at ease with yourself, because another thing I learned going through the journey was how much fear circulates, whether in the medical profession or your loved ones who who want the best for you, but they're also very fearful. And realizing I had to have a real air of compassion and commitment to showing that to myself. And then the final one really that came through for me was connection through my paintings. Again, I developed a much deeper connection, one with nature. It was more than just going for beautiful walks. I had to learn to walk again after the hysterectomy. So my husband and I, we would drive just to local parks, and I'd walk very slowly to begin with. But being in nature was very healing for me. My paintings were also all linked around nature. But then, you know, when I said to you earlier about coming through on the other side, what this whole process has done for me has really deepened my commitment to what I now call depth coaching. It's what I was doing before, it's what my team do as associates working with school leaders. But this whole experience has been so profound and fundamental to me that it has just really deepened my commitment to providing depth coaching for school leaders. Going back to where we started, that being the inner work of what it means, because we all go through dark times. We all go through times that we never expected or imagined would happen. And it's acknowledging that when we do, the answer isn't to numb ourselves to the pain. It's not to ignore or to stay busy, but it's to go on a deeper inner walk. And that's not always easy, but would I say I'm grateful for what happened last year? I think I probably would. I would now. At the time, I didn't know what words I'd be able to utter the other side of it. But now I am a very different person from the Viv Grant that I was prior to the cancer diagnosis. Yeah. That's how the 5Cs arose. Yeah.
What an amazing story. I love how you really relate to the pain, the suffering, the darkness, and how you came out from that difficult situation and saw that there is transformation, there is light, there is something new that is arising, after the darkness. And I feel like it's a kind of faith as well, where you were still working on yourself, being compassionate about you for yourself, and you were saying, you know what, there is hope. I believe that there is something new for me, something different, and you use all of this really helps you to birth something new for your coaching program. This is amazing. So you are already working with the inner leadership characteristic. And now, once you went through that even darker place, you use that as a stepping stone, I would say, to really say, you know what? Why not go deeper from this inner leadership concept? Why not go deeper? And you are able to help so many school leaders to really go deeper in their growth, in their transformation, and really unveil the 5Cs, which are curiosity, as you say, courage, commitment, compassion, and connection. Such a beautiful story. And I love as well how you're an author and you wrote a book called Staying Ahead. I love the words, the playing of the words, staying ahead, and you're talking to head teachers. So talk about your book a little bit and how really the stress management secrets can really help school leaders. Just in a few, let's say, concise. Um,
Very clear, concise way. So I need to
oh,
just say
nice.
a little bit as to how this book came into the world. So this book came into the world based upon my own experience of headship. And any head teachers or senior school leaders who are listening to this, I won't tell the story, but it's in the book. You will know, you will have had that moment where something has happened and you cry tears like you have never cried before. And you think, can I do this job anymore? Am I really up to this job? So that's what happened to me. If you want to find out what that was, the story is in the book. But what that took me to was to a place of recognizing, okay, all right, if I want to do, this is me as a young head teacher, those many, many years ago, if I want to do this job well, and I do because I love the school and I love the community, there had to be another way. There has to be something different. So it was a few years after I'd left headship, and then this book sort of came as an idea, and then obviously it became staying ahead. And I'm just reminding myself, so some of the things, that I speak about are, well, again, the inner leadership. We've got to understand ourselves first. We can't lead ourselves best until we're lead ourselves well. We've got to lead ourselves well in order to lead others well. Then really, the book also talks about stepping outside of comfort zones, because of course, we are growing, we're developing. We may have started our career as young teachers. We move up the career ladder, and every step up the ladder is a step outside of our comfort zone. But if we don't recognize that psychologically and emotionally, something more is being asked of us, we want to revert back, and we can stunt our growth. So I talk about that, talk about learning to, what I say, drop the leadership mask, which basically is that persona, that social persona that you're all sort of praised for and recognized for. And we get it. We all have to be the confident school leader. We want to inspire confidence, but we have to recognize it's a persona, and we learn when to take it off, and we learn which bits to add to it. But we need to learn, actually, there are times when you can just put it to one side and just allow the vulnerable self to come forward, the self that has doubts, the self that has questions. Because if not, and I've seen this happen time and time again, and that's why individuals come to us, you get leakage, because you're kind of trying to hold it all in. And if you're trying to hold it all in and still trying to lead, then you'll get the straw that breaks the camel's back, whether it's an angry parent, a disgruntled member of staff, and you get the leakage. And that might be an explosion, or it might be feeling suddenly really weepy in a meeting. And what to avoid that, what you need are the spaces where you can process. You can work through the emotions, so that when you are required to be your confident self and those things come, they don't trigger you, you can still be present and you are responding as opposed to reacting. So really, they're the kind of things that the book sort of talks about.
I love it. I love it. And I feel like a lot of school leaders should really get this book, because at the end of the day, I feel like if you, as you were saying, not connected to yourself, you cannot connect with your community. And it's all about connection. It's all about vulnerability. And people need to see that you're vulnerable. This is
Exactly.
what makes the connection. You have to, as you say, put the mask down and be vulnerable. It's great if you are a leader and you have teachers, you talk to your teacher community, to your parents community, and you just share what you're going through. They would say, wow, the human side of you, and they would feel okay. But you say, you know what, let's find a solution, let's work together. And this is when people can trust you more, they can feel more closer to you, because they saw that you are not just, as you say, you have the role as a leader, but you are really a person, and people are looking for the person. And it's the same, I think, like this concept of leadership, inner leadership or transformational leadership, it's really across the school community. It's for parents, it's for students, it's for teachers, it's not just for school leaders. And I feel like once those school leaders will unlock that power of really inner self, and as well growing into wholeness, I feel this is the best thing. Growing into wholeness, different level of them will really start growing and breaking, and they will actually be able to flow into their community. I feel this is something that is very important, especially nowadays in the world where we live right now with the teenagers, or they need vulnerability, they need that holisticness, because it's something that is missing in this world. It's just fake. Everywhere you go, social media, everything is fake. But when they really connect and are tangible with people around them, they feel that they can share more.
Yeah, couldn't agree more, Helen. Couldn't agree
I
more.
love it. I love it. So, a last word of encouragement, of inspiration for anyone listening to us. Viv, can you tell them through all your journey? Give them one word of inspiration. Viv Grant Inspiration.com.
It's a one word. But what I will do is connect it to something I said earlier, which is, if you've chosen to be in school leadership, at whatever level that might be, I think it's remembering that you carry a really precious gift for our young people. And the way that you take care of that gift is by actually paying attention to who you are and who you want to be. And if you do that, if you show yourself self-care and compassion, and you do the inner work, then believe that you will grow. And in your own growth, our young people will grow as well because of the commitment that you have made both to self and to others. So that's what I would say. Not one word, but that's what I would say.
I love it. Thank you so much, Viv, for being on the podcast with us. You're an amazing executive coach. I love your heart for people. You are very in tune with yourself, and I love how you're posed. You're very insightful. You have so much wisdom to offer. So thank you for being on the podcast with us today. So if you're a high school principal or a trust leader and you want to boost attendance in your school and build a thriving school culture that engage parents, teachers, and students with an online comprehensive holistic program, make sure that you download my ebook and you join my free workshop. The link is on my Instagram at the Keys for Success. So thank you for joining and watching us. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you for listening to this episode, and make sure you connect with us on Instagram at The Keys for Success. Check also my Linktree and become an affiliate of the Success Guide for Teens Academy, a program that will empower your school community as a parent, teacher, and high school senior leader. Do not hesitate to reach out, comment, and share. Until then, see you in the next episodes.